EPA headquarters in South Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's time for Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPA coverage area. The following segment is a weekly video blog, and the opinions of the forecaster do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff of Eastern PA Weather Authority LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrus with Weather Weeklies.
Hey, good Sunday morning to you. We have a very busy day for you today. Normally we go into long-range pattern and discuss that in length and what we're going to in the future, but we have something that is very pressing. Of course, that is our big nor'easter that we're looking at affecting at least the eastern parts of our coverage area, and we'll get into that pretty heavily in this video here. First, I do want to start off with a long-range pattern, and did want to point out, if you guys do not use this long-range pattern that Mike DeFino does, you are missing out. This is actually the one that was done back on the 14th, which mirrored the one on January 7th. Usually done every week here, but because this week we were a little bit busy and nothing really changed, we haven't had the opportunity to update it. But I do want to point out something here to you. Two periods here. One, the 23rd to 25th was one time period he pointed out for a significant system with uncertain P-type track, and that was P-type and track, which is precipitation type. And that's exactly what happened with this storm here. We had a significant snowstorm for some. Others had some ice, some rain, and that's exactly what happened, and it happened on the 24th. So again, this was done 2 weeks in advance. People say, well, you can't predict the next day. Well, obviously, we're doing something right here. Next thing here is this next thread here from the 27th to the 29th. This is our storm here that we're going to be dealing with here Monday and Tuesday. And we are going to talk a little bit in depth about this system here. This also is coming to fruition here, and looks like it could be a very big system. Going to the National Weather Service right now, we're going to go over to what their current advisories are. And let me switch over to that. Everything here in blue here are winter storm watches up from the National Weather Service. Very broad ranges here. If you look at some of the ranges they have, and I really don't fault them for doing this. Normally you don't want to have that kind of a range, such a large range. You want to say, okay, we're going to get 3 to 6 inches. We're going to get 4 to 8 inches. And you really don't want to have that much of a spread. I can tell you for places here in this area right here I just looked at, they have a winter storm watch up here for 6 to 16 inches of snow. And it sounds goofy because there's a 10-inch spread there. But this is a system that's going to be off the coast, sitting out here, maybe even further east than that. Okay, you're going to have the heaviest snows are going to be the closest to it. So if you think of like a hurricane, and we're going to touch on the hurricane thing here in this video too. You think of a hurricane, and you have these bands that just wrap around here like this, around this storm here. The closer you are to the coastline, the more snow you're going to get here, just because the heavier QPF is there, heavier quantitative precipitation. As you get further west here, it's uncertain. You could have like places like Allentown here. You could have a foot. You could have 6 inches. You could have 18 inches. So you have to have that kind of spread just depending on where this thing tracks. And a slight shift of just 25 miles or so can make a huge difference of what happens for here and also points west. Now, I don't think we're going further west here. I know it says it doesn't have anything here right now. I agree with that. And actually, if I was going to make a call right now, I would be pretty close to what the National Weather Service says. These are heavy snows are going to be right here and points east. Right there. West of here, I don't know. A big question mark here because it's going to depend on how far west this shifts. Now, there are some shifts in the guidance here, then we'll discuss that too. Also up here in New York City, Long Island, up to Boston, they have blizzard watches in effect here. As the storm moves up to the northeast, it's going to really get cranking. All right, and then we're going to go over to the European model here. This is the Euro leading the charge here on this system here. And now, one thing I want to notice, this is the run that happened yesterday. This is the 12Z run. This came out yesterday afternoon. This is the 0Z run. This came out overnight last night. Okay, here's your center low pressure, 977 millibars tucked in really nicely. The next one is 981 millibars up here by just southeast of Long Island. Okay. One thing the Euro did here, you can see the western extent of the precipitation here on the Euro got to right about here. All right, that's all the way out by Harrisburg. Today, it's only to the point to right here. It's further east. So the Euro did correct east a little bit. Came really far west yesterday. Came nudged a little bit east here. We were worried about the Euro overcorrecting and possibly being a little bit too aggressive with the western shift. Last night it came back east a little bit. Well, that makes a big difference now. It now takes places like Lebanon and up to Schuylkill County and Luzerne, Lackawanna, places like that out of the heaviest snows, if the new Euro is correct, and moves it closer to a line from the southern Poconos to the Lehigh Valley down to Philadelphia. Okay, and places west are kind of a question mark. So this is something that we're going to be watching to see trends here. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here with especially up here. We're going to these blizzard watches up in effect here. They're going to get nailed here. There's no doubt about that. We're just worried now about how far west does this get, and so we're going to look for trends today. And before we come out with the final call. Now, that's the euro. Euro was the first to pick up on this. Is the first idea. So everything kind of trended toward that direction. Now, the GFS is in pretty close alignment right now. Now, one thing I want to make sure everybody understands: we have a first call up on the page that's going to become a final call this evening. Right now, you need to understand that there's a clipper system that's going to come through the Ohio Valley, come down here to this point offshore, redevelop, and then it's going to move like this up north, and that's this system here. Same system, okay? But this is coming in Sunday evening to maybe like 9 to midnight, okay? And then it's going to last during the day on Monday. So you're going to get light snow regardless across the entire coverage area. This is where we have the map up for 2 to 4 inches for most of the area. And actually, we have an area down here, south central PA, that's going to be a little higher than that, probably 3 to 6, maybe even 4 to 8, okay? That's just from the clipper itself. Then this thing gets going, and you see what happens. Here's the next frame. Here's that big storm here. GFS has all the snow here, and it's all pretty far back into eastern Pennsylvania even. Northern Delaware, New Jersey, of course all of southeastern New England here getting smoked. All right, so that's on the GFS. GFS is showing that too, and it's pretty far west like the European model. Actually might even be further west with the heavier snows than the European model. Okay, going to the next frame here. This is looking at Tuesday morning. Now, the previous image I just showed you here of the GFS, this is actually overnight Monday night. This is about midnight Monday night. Okay, and then this is going into early Tuesday morning. Still getting very heavy snow and a cold conveyor belt going right here, all the way to the west of the system. Even though the system is now down south of Cape Cod. A lot of wraparound, big, strong system, so a lot of wraparound coming all the way in eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Again, how far west does this get? That's the question. That's what we have to iron out today. But the GFS, the European model, Canadian model, they're all agreeing that even with the system sitting out here near the benchmark, you got some tremendous snowfall of a foot or more going pretty far deep and actually getting up closer to 2 feet as you get to New York City and points northeast. So we're going to have to watch this closely, obviously, because this is a high-impact system that could jump 1 to 2 feet across a large area. But then if you get just west of that line here where they have these winter storm warnings, you get out here and you're going to be like, well, I got a clipper here on Sunday night, Monday, but I didn't get anything from the system. And that's going to be what's going to happen. You're going to be watching everything ooh and ah to the east here, and you're not going to, if you're in State College, forget it. Forget it. If you're in Williamsport, forget it. But you will get the clipper snows. You'll get the 2 to 4 inches, maybe 3 to 6 out of the clipper. All right. This system here is going to be an ooh-ah storm for you further to the east. Okay, so places and questions are places like Harrisburg. Right now, I take Harrisburg out of that threat. I don't really think. I think it's going to be further east. Lebanon's kind of on that edge there. Schuylkill County's on that edge there. Luzerne, Lackawanna, up into the northern Poconos, they're on the edge there. But the best snows are probably going to be east of you. Or southeast of you. Okay, let's get into the next frame here. This is actually the Canadian. Look at the Canadian, just to show you some collaboration. It's doing pretty much the same thing. What's driving this is the upper aerodynamics of the system. Obviously, you got a fully phased system here, just completely wrapped up like a pinwheel here. Okay, and that's what's going on here. And you got a closed-off low sitting off the coast here. That's the reason you have such you have a closed low. It's captured. It's vertically stacked. It's bombing, and it's fully phased. So therefore, you got this big cold conveyor belt coming around here with all the snow, and that's what it's doing. So, is this is something we're trying to see over the last couple of days? If this is possible, it certainly is. Can this turn into a blizzard? Yes, I think it will be, but I think it's going to be further northeast, say from northeastern New Jersey, New York City, all the way up to Boston. The closer you are to this low pressure center, obviously you get the blizzard conditions. You got to remember, blizzard is not just heavy snow. You can get 2 feet of snow and not be a blizzard. You need the wind to go with it, and the area closest to this area low pressure and the prize pressure gradients will have the blizzard conditions. And I think that's going to be from extreme northeastern New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, places like that. You're going to get some pretty good blizzard conditions, especially near the coast. All right. One other thing to discuss before we end the video today. We have a lot to do today, so I'm not going to extend this video very long. This is another system that's coming in Thursday night time frame into Friday morning. Another Clipper system coming down here. Another one we're going to have to watch for development, although the setup is not as favorable this time for this thing to really blow up. So it could start to a little bit, but it could be another doozy for New England again. But we're getting another maybe 2 to 4 inch snowfall here. It looks like Thursday into Friday. So next system after that will be either the day of or probably the day after the Super Bowl. Probably the next time frame. Another one of these Clipper systems coming through. But these Clipper systems are really in this pattern are really starting to energize as they hit the coast here. So we got to watch every single one of them. You're seeing what this one's doing here. Just a Clipper system. That's all it was. Moving just like this, it hits the open water and boom. You know, it doesn't take much. So you can follow along in the My Pocket Meteorologist group or with text alerts and email alerts. If you want all the information ahead of time before anybody else gets it and get everything detailed for your county or where you either live or work, we will send that to you in text or email. Just look for the My Pocket Meteorologist banner below this video, and it will allow you to sign up for these programs, and it'll give you details for every system for where you live or work for your specific area through the rest of the winter for all of our threats going forward. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Martrich, and that is this edition of Weather Weeklies. Join us again next week. We'll go into some more, hopefully the long-range pattern at that time, and we can get past some of these storms this week. In the meantime, be careful and stay safe.